Welcome everyone. Again, if you're just joining, feel free to state your name and the state you're from in the chat box or what part of the state of Ohio you're coming from. And we will start in about a minute. Welcome. Alrighty. I have Brooklyn, Ohio, Cleveland. Let's see who else. I know I see Hawaii, but I know that's Chai, our recruiter. That's from Hawaii. I wish I was there right now. All right, Franklin, Ohio. Awesome. Columbus, Ohio. Awesome. Well, welcome to everyone. Again, my name is Andrea Wilson. I will be your moderator for today. Again, this event is being recorded. So if you're unable to stay for the entire time, we'll be sending this out to our participants that have registered. Before I have our panelists to talk to us, I just want to go over a few housekeeping rules. So for this particular event, for our meet and greet, we learn about one of our schools. So if you have any particular questions regarding application or interview or things like that, we won't be able to answer those specific questions because we want to be able to talk more about the school and get all of that information to you. So you can send an email to recruiting@k12.com and we will get you connected to our recruiter, which is Chai Kahale, and she will be, you'll be hearing from her later on today with more information on hiring process and the just the hiring highlights for this particular school. Again, we also are having a Q&A session at the end of this, so you'll be able to give your questions and we'll be able to have our panelists to answer those for you. And as I said earlier, we are recording this event. So before I talk a little bit about who Stride is, I'm going to have our panelists just to jump on the microphone and give their name and their title and how long they've been with Ohio Digital Learning School. So we'll start with Kate and we can go down the list.
Sure, thanks. Hi, I'm Kate Harkless. I'm the head of school at Ohio Digital Learning School. I've been with Stride for 8 years. I started as a math teacher, a middle school math teacher at another virtual school in the network. And then I've been the head of school at Ohio Digital since we opened 3 years ago.
Hi, I'm Crystal Lockwood, and I am the Academic Administrator of Special Programs, which encompasses special education, 504s, English language learners, gifted, and our, I'm forgetting one. Anything special programs. I have been with ODLS since we opened 3 years ago as well, and this is my 19th year in education.
Hi, I'm Mahaley Albin. I am the academic administrator, better known as the principal. This is my 9th year with Stride. I also started out as an online teacher and I taught high school English, moved on to some instructional coaching, and then came here when we opened 3 years ago in this role as principal.
Hi, I'm Erica Trapp. I'm our lead teacher here at ODLS, and I've been teaching since 2007, but I have been with Stride for the last 8 years and 3 with our school since we opened as well.
My name is Chika Hale. I'm your academic recruiter. I've been with Stride for 5 years and started from the beginning with ODLS. I am a former elementary school teacher and I'm married to a high school teacher.
Awesome. Thank you, everyone. And I guess I'll say, again, Andrea Wilson, I've been with Stride, it'll be 5 years in June, and I am a talent acquisition operations supervisor, but one of my many hats that I wear is event management. And I've been doing this as far as moderating for our different events that we have probably since 2018 or 2019 that I've been doing this. So it's always a lot of fun to meet our different schools, talk to our different administrators and teachers and things like that, and be able to bring this type of information to you all virtually. All right, so I'm going to talk a little bit about who Stride is. If you've never heard of us, we were formerly K-12. You will still see that name as far as our education umbrella, but we switched to Stride Inc., and I believe that was in 2020, if I'm not mistaken. But we switched to Stride Inc., and we've been around for over 20 years now. And before, when we were K through 12, we were focused on just those grades from elementary to high school. And now that we have evolved, I'll say evolved into Stride Inc., that is because our focus has also evolved, not just for those grades of K through 12, but we've also acquired some portfolio companies where they focus on career prep as well as college prep. So we have those types of courses that are available to our students. And not only just a student, as you would think, between those grade levels, but we truly believe that education is for everyone and that education is lifelong. So it just doesn't end at high school. It moves on to college if that is if their choice is to go into college, or a career preparation if they decide either to go into the medical field, or we provide coding boot camps if that's their pathway. They want to go into something more technical or into IT, things like that. So that's how we have evolved more into Stride Inc. And again, we do believe that education is for everyone. So I'm going to turn the mic over to Kate. She's going to tell us a little bit more about Ohio Digital Learning School and share some more about.
Sure, and I will try not to read off of the slide here and just kind of go over who we are as a school. So we are a dropout prevention and recovery school here in Ohio. We work with students ages 16 to 21, so all high school students. We do have a mix between students and more of the adult learners when you get into the 19, 20, 21 year olds. But our students are wonderful and great. We work both on academics during the day, and we do have a like a bell schedule type schedule. And then we also integrate daily Pathfinder hour from our school support team. So we work on college and career prep and social emotional learning. And then each of our teachers have a mentor caseload that they're working with. They meet with those students weekly, and they provide guidance on goal setting and just staying motivated and engaged in school. This is our third year, and every year we have grown. We are up to 1,100 students this year. Really excited to say that we have a graduating class of around 400 for this year. So, we really do take the dropout prevention and recovery to heart. So we have a lot of older students, and we focus a lot on credit recovery and giving them the tools that they need to be successful to finish school and then to move on into the career field or to go to college. We have 22 gen ed teachers, 10 special ed teachers. We also have an additional student support team and operations team that we work with too. So there's almost 50 of us total on staff. And we are hiring in every content area for our gen ed teachers and special education teachers as well. Let's see. And then professional development wise, so we do meet in person for professional development a few times a year. We do a lot of professional development online as well, so we're not always coming together. And then we do have state testing that has to be completed in person, so we do travel for that as well throughout the year. But yeah, every August we do have an overnight back to school PD. So we're really excited about the PD that we have scheduled for this year. We've got 2 great guest speakers that we'll be working with. And then, connection is really big for us. So in addition to the in-person PDs, we do meet essentially weekly. We're connecting and working together.
Awesome. Thank you, Kate.
Mhm.
We're going to dive a little bit deeper and just talk about what teaching is like at ODLS and the virtual teaching, virtual space. So I'm going to ask Erica just to tell us a little bit about her experience as a lead teacher, and then after hearing her experience, if Mahaley or Crystal want to talk more about the special programs and special education, they can hop on the microphone as well.
Right, thank you. So at our school, we do have a typical bell schedule. So our teaching format for the day usually looks like a class of anywhere between like 20 and I would say 40 students. And within that time, we work in a platform called Neuro, which is very similar to Zoom. So you're on camera teaching with your microphone, and we encourage our students to be on camera as much as possible. Usually our classes last about 45 minutes. We do have time for small group. We have classes anywhere from 8 a.m. to 3:30 p.m. And we do a lot of data review at our school. We are very data heavy. So our platforms allow us to pull reports of our students to see where they're progressing in terms of state standards. We can look at anything from attendance to whether they're ahead of grade level, behind, if they're in special programs, and you can always work with your students in small groups if they need some remediation or if you want to help them move forward ahead as well. We also communicate with our students through email very often. We have a group that we are responsible for making phone calls to. It's not a very large group. And we typically are the students' first point of contact if they need help with anything as a homeroom teacher. Most of the time you're home. So I see that there is, travel's about 25%. I would say it's less than 25%. We do have to be out for state testing, and that's in April, and it's a few weeks in December. But otherwise, you're teaching at home every day. You're really not. I think 25% is kind of a lot.
And I'll give this caveat for these are our like general teacher questions that we have. So each school is a little bit different. So I want everyone to know that it in general, like it might be different for a different school. They may have more, they may travel more, or may have more testing and things like that. So I just wanted to put that caveat out there. Mahaley or Crystal, did you want to share? Either one can go first.
I'll just pop on. I'm sorry, I'm not sure why my video's not popping for me today. This is Mahaley. Just to say that most of our teachers are teaching 4 or 5 times a day for those 45-minute periods. We do have common planning built in, so there is time to meet with your department for teacher-based teams or for common planning. And we also have additional time, throughout the day that you may not have a class where you're able to dedicate that time to grading, to planning, or to contacting students.
Awesome. All right, I am going to allow Chai to talk to us about just the hiring and the hiring process. And I'll hop on mute.
Thank you. Thanks, Drea. So my job as a recruiter is to look at our applicant pool, review your application, your certifications. If you haven't already attached it to your application, I will look you up in ODE. Review your resume, and then the first step for us in interviewing is to move you into HireVue, which is a digital platform. So you will be completing a digital interview. And part of that interview, the last question asks you to present a lesson, and we give you the directions on how to do that. YouTube is a great platform to upload your video, and we ask for the link is public so that we can see it. If we can't see your video, it would be hard to evaluate you. So that link should be public. And then our administrators, our hiring managers, take a look at that hire view. And then the next step would be, if they choose to move you to the next step, is to have a one-on-one interview session with you. I'm going to give you some points on the hire view. I mean, it is like being in front of a principal. So you want to, of course, dress appropriately, have good lighting. You are allowed to practice before you press record, so don't panic, and have a quiet space. So if you do have little ones, it would be nice to have somebody hang on to them. Or like me, I work from home too, and I have dogs. So fortunately, my dog's in the other room with the door closed. Anyways, just some tips about hire view. Once the hiring manager interviews you, they will send me a request for hire, and then that goes through approval, and I extend the offer. And from there, we send that in DocuSign, and that's our hiring process.
Thank you, Chai. Actually, I think this is also relevant to what you were speaking about. Someone had asked about they said they're not I'm not an American citizen, but I have 14 plus experiences in teaching sciences and math. I require sponsorship process to be eligible to work in the United States. Can you touch on
Yeah,
that?
so thank you for that question. No, we don't. Unfortunately, we're not set up to sponsor at this time. Also, I see that I missed a few here. We require Ohio licensure, but you can live outside of the state up to 45 miles outside of the border. We do have a salary range between $40,000 and $42,000 a year, but we also have a bonus opportunity. We do participate in STRS, and not many people know this, we do have a free master's program available through Southern New Hampshire University. We also offer internet reimbursement and an office stipend. And we do accept alternative licensure. We just need a copy of the statement of eligibility.
All right, let me move to we talked about that. The highlighted, if you want to talk about the highlighted jobs, and then how they can go onto our website to search for our agents.
So we are looking for high school teachers. We would love to have science teachers apply. We need math teachers and elective teachers. I think we're looking for art, business, Spanish. You can go onto the stridelearning.com careers page and put in a keyword search, Ohio, or ODLS is another way to do it. And then everything that's available at ODLS will pop up on that page. And then you can see the job description and apply online.
Awesome, thank you. Now, if I know a couple people have put questions in the Q&A, but if there are any other questions, feel free to put them in the QA box now, and our panelists can answer those for you. Let's see. One question that I did have for Erica, as far as let's say a teacher is starting off, this is their first time becoming a virtual teacher. They were teaching in brick and mortar, and now they're transitioning. What would you, or what would you say was the one of the biggest things that you had to kind of adjust when it came to teaching, and what did that look like from going from brick and
Oh,
mortar to
sure. I think there's a lot that you don't realize goes into online teaching until you start doing it. I know a lot of people were thrown into it during the pandemic, so they've got some experience with, with the situation. But really, I would say learning how to present material over a totally different platform was the most challenging part of starting as an online teacher. You're used to being in a brick and mortar class, which I did for 7 years too, to seeing your students face to face and being able to give them that direct feedback on what they're doing. And so just developing a style where you can present your material well over a platform you've probably never used before and communicate with your students is really the biggest hurdle, I would say, in getting started. So um, you have to be very tech savvy or willing to learn. It takes a lot, and you really can't be afraid to ask questions when you start working and put yourself out there for your students.
Awesome.
Sure.
So a question came through. In working with the career prep or college prep, is Ohio State certification required? I have taught K through 12, but currently have been in higher education for 20 years, so no longer have certification. I guess that would be a question for Chai, or yeah, because I know you went over that earlier.
I mean, I can add that yes, we do require certification, but I would look at ODE and look at some of the different certifications available out there, because there are plenty that recognize that work experience or that higher ed teaching experience, and you may have a path to get your certification through that.
And I think,
But yes, all of our teachers have to be certified.
got it. And Chai, I see you already you were answering one, but if you could share on the, like, as far as their terms of materials needed and the technology and platforms and
So,
their use.
right. So we do require high speed internet. We do provide a company laptop and headsets. We do provide curriculum. We have award-winning curriculum. Did I miss anything, Kate, in terms of materials?
Yeah. So not much. We do the laptops, a printer. We also use a VoIP phone to communicate with students, so you don't have to share like your own phone line or anything. I'm really excited about our new phones. They're getting an app to be able to, if you want, you can get the app on your own, like on your cell phone, and use it, just like the Google Voice app. So we provide the phone as well, and a printer, and then we provide all the the curriculum. Our learning management platform is D2L or Brightspace. I've heard it go by both names. And then our online platform for our live classes is through Neuro, which is a lot like Zoom here. So all of that is provided for you. However, even though, we love our curriculum and it's great, and it's sorry, getting a phone call there. Um, you as the teacher are still able to go in and modify. Everything can be modified and differentiated for your students. So I really like that you have everything available to you, but you still have that flexibility to match what you're teaching, to your standards and to your students' needs too. So it's a little bit different from, any of you that might have been thrown into online teaching in March of 2020, where it was figure it out. And I know everybody was trying to figure out what platforms to use. All of that we already have in place with lots of training on it.
Awesome. Someone asked, for high school science, what course levels are taught? Is it only integrated science of the chemistry or physics courses?
For our science courses, we teach physical science, biology, earth science, astronomy, um, anatomy and physiology, and we're looking to add chemistry for next year as well.
Any other questions? Keep them coming.
And as we grow, we'll continue to add more classes too.
Let's see.
Is one teacher responsible for all of those courses? No, we do have a team, a science team of teachers. So we, excuse me, we do try to, now people will have multiple preps right now. We're not so large that everyone has just one prep. But for science, for example, it might be biology. So a teacher might have biology, the traditional on-track class, and the credit recovery versions of that class. And then they might have an elective as well. But no, we do keep our ratios. 1 to 190 is where we top out, and I know that might sound big for if you've been in the brick and mortar setting, but virtually you are able to um, teach a little bit more. And Erica, you can agree or disagree with me on that one, but just being able to teach virtually, like we have tools that makes it much easier to be able to differentiate for students, and grading can be much faster too. So we do really try to keep that amount of prep work down.
Let's see. I also had a question I was going to ask to the panelists as well. This is something I've seen in other webinars, but someone had asked, how are teachers evaluated, and what does that look like for our virtual teachers?
Sure. So we have your traditional walkthroughs. I know in a building, the state of Ohio really asks for 2 a year, but we really try to do 2 a month, two 10 to 15 minute walkthroughs of your live classes whenever possible. And it's really just kind of a coaching session. Like, here's what we saw, and here's what you're doing really well. And here's an area where we could sit down and meet and improve. Sometimes it's, did you know that this was available? Did you know that you could do this? And especially that first semester with us, a lot of our teachers will come back and say, I was really a little nervous about having you in my classroom so much, but I gained so much from it. And poor Erica, as our lead teacher, I send everybody to Erica for all sorts of things. Erica has this on our training site, or I can help you with this, but you should see her for that, because we have different ideas and different experiences. Our evaluation tool is the OTES 2.0, just like you would deal with at any other public school in Ohio.
Awesome, thank you. Any other? Oh, what qualities make a successful teacher for ODLS? That's a great question, Paige.
I love that question.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like we might all have similar and different answers in some ways. I think to be successful, you need to be collaborative. We work together very closely. Um, even though it's virtual and you're physically alone at home, you're going to be working with your team quite a bit. So I'd say collaborative, comfortable with technology. You don't have to know how to use everything before you start. There's a lot of training, but the more comfortable you are, especially with just getting in there, and it's okay to make a mistake. We promise you can't break anything that we can't fix. So being comfortable with that, and believing strongly in building relationships with students, and just that belief that all students can learn and can be successful, I think is very important. And then being data based, but if you're not, you will be by the end of the first semester. You will be you will love or hate data.
So just to kind of go along with that too, I hated data when I started working with K-12. I'm sorry, Kate. But data looks like a lot of different things. It's not all trackers and numbers. Some people love Excel. Not my favorite data, but it's out there. But I do think that just having a lot of patience as you start to transition into an online world is very important. And there are going to be times when you have no idea what you're doing, you need an answer for something. So it's okay to stop, look around for an answer, ask someone a question. And if you really are stuck, someone probably knows how to do something a little bit faster, and there's a workaround for it. So that first semester is a challenge for everybody. Yeah, don't expect to come into a classroom like you have been if you've been teaching for 10 years. It's a different it's a different environment, but a lot of patience really goes a long way, especially with, not just your own work, but with your students, as you know, as an instructor.
Yeah, and I guess my answer would be very similar to both of theirs, but I guess a little bit of a shift. I definitely very much look for people who believe in our students. Knowing that, just because you're a teacher in a classroom doesn't mean that you have all of the answers, that building those relationships and seeing those individual successes, if that is your driving force, then then this is a place you would be really successful, because it is all about getting to know our students, getting to see what they need, and then helping them with that growth mindset and showing them that they can be successful, and then celebrating each of those little steps with them.
I love that you said that, Mahaley, because isn't that why we all get into education?
I know I'm not a teacher, but I come from a family of teachers. I have a big family. My grandmother had 15 children, and a lot of my aunts and uncles have either taught or been administrators. And so I think that's also how I found uh, Stride, or working in, or ended up in the education space. Even though I'm not teaching, I definitely agree with the mission. And one of the things for me is being able to, um, by doing this, it gives another option for a student that may not, um, their space might not be in brick and mortar, but maybe virtual learning works for them. So knowing that I am helping continue that mission of providing that um, pathway, that particular pathway for students, I think that's what drives me in my role and what I do. So just to piggyback off of any other questions? If not, we can give you back some time to your day. But okay, one last question. I see. No, it's fine. We love questions. We love engagement. So you're good. Are teachers able to implement small group individual interventions to better differentiate instruction?
Yes. Oh, and I think Erica would like to answer it live. Go ahead.
I did. I volunteered with the Zoom button. So yes, you absolutely are. We do have a blocked off time period this year where we are able to take our students who need that differentiated instruction and maybe a smaller group and invite them just to those sessions. So we have that extra time in the day, but you can also use your class time in your Class Connect in Neuro to break students up into smaller groups. And you can go to different breakout rooms, similar to the way that you may have seen on Google Classroom. Otherwise, I mean, you're teaching style, the way you really want to differentiate in your classroom is really up to you. So, large group instruction has its place, but the way that you want to implement small group instruction is also up to you, just to make sure that you're meeting the needs of your students.
So since there are I don't see any other questions, what I will say is if there are any, I guess, final tips or advice that you would want to give to our audience today, feel free to jump on the microphone before we wrap up.
For final tips, I would say ask questions. So both during the interview process, but then if you're hired, once you're hired too, um, you know, there's always going to be something to learn, especially that first semester. Um, and I don't mean to make it sound scary. I do remember it took me about a month of working before all of my training kind of came together and clicked. And then suddenly everything was making sense. And that amount of time is different for everyone, but I'd say roughly about a month or so, where at first it does seem like a ton, but everybody on staff has gone through it. We're a relatively new school, and you probably remember when most of us introduced ourselves. We started off as teachers, so we've been doing this. So asking questions and getting support, I think, are the best things that you can do. Don't be afraid. There are no silly questions. Well, there are, but trust me, you're not going to ask them.
Else want to give any other advice or tips? If not, there's no pressure. I just thought I'd give another chance to hop on the
I'll
microphone.
just keep talking because that's what I like to do. No, actually am not a big talker. The other advice I have that I like to give people too is to create a workspace for yourself, because that is one big difference if you've never worked at home, is create yourself a workspace. You don't have to have your own home office or anything fancy, but you need to have a workspace that when you are done working, you can walk away from it and be done working. Because it can be an adjustment to work from home sometimes. And the flip side, when you're working, you want to focus on that. Sometimes I see laundry and I just want to go do it because it's calling for me. But setting up your workspace so that you can, really decide when you're at work and when you're off work, I think is some other really good advice for this position or any other working from home position.
I have one last tip too, Drea, for the digital interview. When you're doing your digital interview, make sure you're recording yourself at this level. I have seen a couple of digital interviews where the laptop is maybe on the lap, and then we get the view of this. And that's not necessarily what we want, right? We want to see this. So that's just another, it's a small tip, but it's a good one.
I definitely will. I ditto to that. Yes, having good lighting and just a dedicated space where you're not having to hold, because you're already trying to answer the question and make sure you have your resume on one side. So yeah, if you have just a space where you can just sit and you're in the frame because you want to see beautiful face, and good lighting always helps for your digital interview. And you can, again, imagine like you're talking to somebody on a video call, or let's say it's FaceTime, since most people have an iPhone. If not, it's fine. But most of the time you may be doing a video call. So think of it that way. And I think that kind of helps. We all get it. Can be a little, if you've never done that before, it can be a little nerve wracking, but Trust me, we have all gone through it. And I've done several. I think one of the things from us moving to all being remote, that has definitely given me more practice on how to be in front of a camera, since we do Zoom calls and Zoom meetings and things like that. So now it's like breathing for me. And I think I'll also add that I do have experience of as being on stage and singing, things like that. So that I think also gives me a little bit of extra added advantage for being in front of the camera. But the more you do it, it's not as nerve-wracking. Then once you if you join Stride and you'll be teaching in front of your students, that also gives you more practice as well. All right. Well, I want to thank all of my panelists for coming today and speaking about ODLS, and also sharing how to find positions on our webpage and what those specifications are to work for ODLS. I also thank all that have participated today. Thank you for all your questions. Again, this has been recorded, and we'll be sending that out to all of our registrants. Chika is our recruiter for ODLS, so she put her information in the chat. So if you have any additional questions about the school or rules and things like that, definitely take her email down. It's in the chat, but it is chale@k12.com. If you have general questions, you can send that to her, or recruiting at k12.com. We're also on social media, so please follow us on all of our social media platforms. We're on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, and we're also on LinkedIn. But I know as far as our social media, those are our four main that we have. But we're Careers at Stride, and we try to show you things that are going on as far as in our, I would say, cubicle, but we're not in cubicles anymore, but the Zoom space of, how we're doing virtual teaching, so you can get a chance to see some of that. Yes, we're trying to upgrade our TikTok, so feel free to follow us at Careers at Stride. Again, my name is Andrea Wilson. I have been your moderator, and I hope you all have a wonderful Thursday and a great weekend. Talk to you all later. Bye-bye.